When legacy companies try corporate venture, the first attempt often fails. But some come back even stronger. In this panel, Mike Smeed of InMotion, Jaguar Land Rover, and Ida Christine Brun of AP Moller-Maersk reveal what it takes to reboot a CVC. With Jeppe moderating, we explore how to align with strategy, earn internal trust, and build a venture engine that lasts.
Ida and Mike, you have both been part of a restart or a continuation of a CVC. So in your experience, right, what does it require more than more capital? Is it defining the role? And what was your first strategic move after going into this process? Ida, you want to start?
Yeah. So for us, it was very much around connectedness to the core company. I know there's many debates around connectedness versus independence in order to gain agility. However, for us, in order to deliver what the startups actually wanted from us and what our colleagues expected and needed from us, and to be able to deliver that true strategic impact, we needed to become even closer to the business and become a lot more business-led. So to your question around what was our first strategic move, yeah, we became a lot more business-led and connected to the company in every sense. We became part of the strategy department, now reporting directly into our chief strategy officer. We actually changed our whole mindset. So instead of asking ourselves which startup should we be investing in, we started asking ourselves, what are the strategic business problems that we need to be solving for? In terms of physical location, we have moved into our headquarter office instead of having our separate little office. Yeah, and so the starting point for us is really being anchored in strategic priorities. I know it's been said a lot today, but really focusing on the capability gaps and the technology gaps where open innovation can really help move the needle for the company.
Mike, you came into InMotion Ventures after many years at Jaguar Land Rover. What learnings did you bring with you, and where did you start?
Yeah, so for us, InMotion's been around since 2016, so about almost 10 years now. But I came in pretty much 3 years ago. We've just announced that our third CEO since I joined is starting in December. So I'm on a countdown to getting fired next year. So it was a pleasure to have been with you all for this. But very much what we saw it as was a renewal of our wedding vows almost between the parent company and the CVC unit. You know, I would say that the CVC before I joined was suboptimal, because of exactly what you said, Ida, was that the priorities of the business and where the CVC was heading were in different ways, and therefore we'd lost relevance. And I think that's what we've heard really across today, and what we've just heard from the fireside before us is that it's about the relevance, and even the first speaker mentioned the why. So why do you exist and all of those things. Yeah. So very much making sure that we were when we were rebooting the CVC, making sure we're really clear on the priorities of the parent company. We took a very different path to yourself, Ida, which is great, because again, there's many different ways that a CVC works, but it only really works if it's relevant to the context that you're in. And I think that's the most important thing, is recognizing when you've drifted a little bit too far away from whatever that context is, and then bringing it back in.
Then I think Peter Axel kindly mentioned, CVC also a little bit as an organ transplant. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. The medicine is also the trust. Mm. Ida, how are you building that trust with your core colleagues?
Yeah, I think when each and every one of us goes to work in the morning, we want to make a difference and bring value to the company we work for the industries that we work within. And for us, as a CVC, in order to deliver really strong outcomes, I just want to point out that I think we already were delivering quite strong outcomes from our supply chain tech funds 1 and 2. But we realized there was a little bit of a disconnect with the way we perceived the value we brought and that of our colleagues. And this was a bit of a wake-up call for us. So it was a good point in time for us to actually take a step back, ask some of our senior leaders, how can we actually deliver more value add to you and business as a whole. So in order to build that credibility and trust, it was around actually just sitting down and understanding their priorities, sourcing startups that actually deliver solutions to their problems here and now, and also, of course, facilitating those collaborations and partnerships in a fast and agile way, so that it was a good experience both for our colleagues, but also for the startups that we ended up working with as well. Not rocket science, but it was around understanding priorities.
Yeah. Mike, how has that been for you?
It was slightly easier for me in the sense that I was a company insider. So I'd been in the parent company for 5 years before I took this role on. And also I was a member of the finance team as well. So that comes with a level of credibility working across the business. So you're not coming in. I think it would be slightly different if I was an engineer or I was something else coming into a particular role with maybe a perceived bias. I think typically, and I'm biased as a finance professional, that you come there with a level of objectivity and doing the right thing for the business, I think really helped me.
During our talks, one of the things that have intrigued me a lot is also both of you, your view on the legacy portfolio that you took over. And Mike, you specifically mentioned that there are some learnings in there that are big for you. Could you explain a little bit more on that topic?
Yeah, completely. I mean, I think just echo what Nicola said earlier on, which is that there's a financial return is almost the basis of being strategic. So I think, that, and again, I was very lucky, we inherited a portfolio on our previous thesis. And again, you always navigate towards the ones that are performing particularly well through that. But we've separated very much what we call Fund 1 and Fund 2. So since 2022, when we reset the fund, we're very much focused on separating out the performance of those two things, making sure that we have an active portfolio from the legacy, which we still continue to support the winners in those things that we do, but also being very clear with those companies that are no longer part of the thesis and aren't performing with the level of financial return that we would like. We're very clear with them that they're not part of our ongoing plan. And I think just that honesty with a startup and with a founder, I think is really important. Yeah. The other reflection we had was just how slow I was to talk to our legacy founders when I first started. And I would, if anyone's in the same position as myself, a relative newcomer coming in, I'd really encourage you to go and talk to the founders of your portfolio, because they will know what's going on. They will know what's like. I mean, our portfolio companies hated us when I first started. I heard a lot of things talking about, well, we'll do an NPS with our portfolio companies to understand. And my team said, please don't do that. Because you'll get the answer you really don't want. But I think there was a level of corporate arrogance that I had because I was only really used to working corporate to corporate. And therefore, I didn't quite understand that actually, a third of my job is working with the founders. And I spend a lot of times when I'm walking my dog in the evening talking to our founders, and they'll talk to me and say, oh, for God's sake, this has happened, or help me translate, what do they really mean when they said this, and all of those things. And I completely missed that as part of my role.
And Ida, you also mentioned that you've gone even deeper with some of your startups in the portfolio.
Yeah. So I think for a lot of the companies that want strategic capital from strategic investors, oftentimes they seek partnerships and large commercial contracts at the end of the day. So actually, when we started doubling down on venture clienting and building strong processes to bring about POCs, pilots, to validate their solutions, that has actually helped enable many of our portfolio companies. So we were lucky also. We have had a very strong portfolio, which continued to be just as relevant and strategically important for us. Through venture clienting, we have actually been able to also not only give them capital, but also some good global framework agreements to work with the company overall.
Thank you so much both for sharing.